today's offering and practice is forgiveness. And this is something, especially in doing this declutter and doing this workbook and looking at things on the physical level, the mental level, the emotional level, and of course, on the spiritual or energetic level. Once you begin to start detoxing, forgiveness is this trick or opportunity, so to speak, to really unburden yourself. And in this practice, I talk about forgiveness of others, but also self-forgiveness. And the self-forgiveness, in my experience, is so much more difficult than the forgiveness of others, although we do end up carrying the weight of resentment, any kind of judgment that we place on other people with us. And it really does weigh us down. But also because most of us are so tough on ourselves. We are self-critical. I know that I am. And that voice can become somewhat complacent or normalized, and we forget how hard we are on ourselves, and we may be holding ourselves hostage. So think about this forgiveness practice, whether it is in yourself or others. And this, by the way, is found on pages 39 and 40 of the workbook. But spending a little bit of time moving through this, and I would make it 2 different days, let's say, worth of practices. So a forgiveness of others practice, start with that, because that, like I said, even though it's difficult for some reason, at least in my experience and what I see in working with other people, forgiveness of self is so much harder. But really asking yourself who, what, where, when, why, those questions, I guess, am I holding hostage? Is there anyone or anything I am holding on to that is limiting my experience and abundance? And think about gripping a steering wheel on the car. And I use this analogy sometimes in readings because it comes through and they show it to me in this symbol is, when it's pouring down rain and you have that tight 10-2 steering wheel grip because you just want to get home and the windshield wipers are moving and you're tensed up and you're looking through the window and you're holding on to the death grip on the steering wheel. And sometimes lack of forgiveness or holding someone or something hostage, including yourself, can feel like a death grip on the steering wheel, driving in that unforgiving rain where you just want to get home safely. You just want to get the people in the car home safely, but you can't release the grip and you have to hold on tight. And if you let go of the grip, you might, crash off the side of the road. And that's what the burden, the unburdening feels like, is letting go of that grip, sitting back in the car seat, imagining you are in a convertible, the sun is shining, the wind is in your hair, your favorite song is on the radio. And so going from the death grip and the bad weather to being in a convertible on Route 66 with not a care in the world. And so does it all happen in one instant or moment? No, it is a process and a practice in my experience. And the 2 quotes that I used are really 2 of my favorite forgiveness quotes. One of them is, true forgiveness is when you can say thank you for that experience. And I had that for the first time years ago after I got sober in the relationship that I was in recognizing that I had been in a very unhealthy relationship for about 4.5 years, but I was as much part of the problem as the other person was. But when I was able to say, whoa, oh my gosh, all of this pain, all of this trauma, I'm lucky to be alive. Yes. And so is this other person. But wow, thank you for that. Because if I would not have walked through that, I forgive you. I forgive myself for staying in that and behaving the way that I did. So forgiveness on both ends of the spectrum. But it was like, there's this gratitude in it of, whoa, I went through this so I could learn this. I've come out on the other side. So there's this teaching opportunity in forgiveness through the aspect of gratitude for the experience that created the burden of unforgiveness, resentment, whatever it may be. And the other quote in here is, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. Mahatma Gandhi. Forgiveness is quite empowering. It's courageous. It's bold, but it is a higher level of consciousness. And so as we talk about ascension and growing and evolving, forgiveness is one of those things that is part of the ascension process, being able not so much to surrender or let go, but again, like I said, to quit holding hostage of feelings, experiences, people, expectations, whatever it may be, letting whom or whatever off the hook and recognizing that it is an attribute of empowerment, higher consciousness, ascended perspective, and higher love, and not just love for the other, love for humanity, love for your experience, and love for yourself, self with a capital S. So again, you know that these practices are intended not only to be used as we close out 2020, but for 2021. So you can go back to this at any time, and any time you may be holding someone hostage or upset about someone, working through that, looking at your part, but also offering forgiveness. And there's guidelines in here to remember a couple of things that I do want to point out. One is that forgiveness is not always picking up the phone and calling someone or sitting down face to face and having a discussion. Forgiveness may be something that you write down on a piece of paper and you bury it, or you do some ritualized action, or you say a prayer in your heart. It may not need a face-to-face conversation or confrontation. It might be something that is more ritualistic or just a letting go that is spiritual. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. But the other piece that I really do suggest in this is making sure that you get someone else's feedback, someone who you trust, who is a mentor or a guide to you, who also doesn't have a dog in the hunt, someone who's very objective. So if this is like a sibling, you know, you're not going to go to one of your parents to talk this through with them because they're not objective, you know, so you want to have a spiritual advisor, a personal mentor, a safe friend who you can say, hey, I've been carrying this. I need to unburden it. It is bothering me. Let me explain what happened. Let me explain my part. Let me explain their part from what I see. You know, what do you think about this? How does this sound to you? I want to get this off my chest. What am I not seeing? What are my blind spots? What do you think is the best and highest way to go about this? So that part of it. And again, of course, willingness is the trick. It's just becoming willing to unburden yourself and to let the other person out of the shackles that you may be placing on them, just mentally in your mind or emotionally or energetically, because there's an energetic cord that is tied to lack of forgiveness, and it muddies up our energy field. Believe me, I know it. I've experienced it, and I see it all the time. So being able to do that. And last but not least, I guess there's a third component to this, is asking your higher power and your higher self for guidance. So whomever this person is, and whether it's yourself or someone else or an experience of something, saying, hey, higher power, higher self, show me, connect me with this person or this experience's higher self or greatest good for the most optimal outcomes. Show me. So the asking for help, the asking for guidance and divine intervention, so to speak, requires asking for help and then saying, show me. So it may require a little patience. So this is not a one and done thing. This is, again, a practice. Anyway, be well, my friends.